Well, hello again and welcome back to my channel, and we're picking up the third in a 4-part series of my custom made Burr Oak and Resin desktop. Now if you haven't caught episodes 1 and 2, I'll leave links up in the corner and also in the description box, where we flattened the slab, and then I also made a giant polypropylene resin mold that you can see us just about managing to lower the big slab into. Now I always make them a couple of centimeters extra wide, just so it gives you that little bit of wiggle room when you're lowering it in, and watch your fingers. The next step is the final preparations on the slab before we start the resin work. So I'm just using my compressed air gun to get any dust or debris out of the little spaces, and then finishing off with the shop vac before we start the resin pour. An essential part of any resin project is ensuring the slab is firmly secured in place inside the resin mold. No matter how heavy the slab is, if you don't anchor it down, then the resin will get underneath it and lift the slab up. As you can see here, I took a few little offcuts of polypropylene and put some wooden blocks on top of it. I just do that because it makes it easy to actually detach the blocks later on when the resin is fully cured, and I attach the slab via those blocks and some clamps down onto my workbench. Now I'm moving on to mixing some resin. Now it's important when you do this, you're working in a well ventilated area and wearing the appropriate PPE. Now for this project I'm using Glasscast 50 over 3 pours, which I'll explain later. Just for the first batch that I'm going to mix up is just enough to coat the bottom of the resin mold and also to seal the edges and any cracks in the slab. It's really important as well, if your resin project is over multiple pours, to measure the amount of pigment you're using so you get an equal distribution across each stage. Just to return to why I've decided to do this resin project over 3 pours, the slab itself is just under 50mm, and normally that would be a 2-pour project with Glasscast 50. But because this is a Burr Oak slab and it has a lot of infills, gaps and splits, I've decided to do a sealing coat first. So just enough resin to coat the bottom of the polypropylene mold, and then also I can seal the edges and any of the Burr Oak gaps. This shallow sealing coat I did first thing in the morning, just taking my time sealing over all the edges and any of the splits and gaps in the Burr Oak slab itself. Also making sure I've got my heat gun handy when any bubbles surface. Now I returned around 10 hours later, still very much at the B stage where you can easily get a fingerprint or a fingernail into the resin, and I went at it with the second pour, which is the first main pour if you like, taking it roughly about halfway up the slab, so we're going up to about 25mm in thickness. It's the same mixing process, it's the same pouring process, and it's the same pigment to resin ratio. Once I've finished this second resin pour, I'm going to keep a close eye on it and return in approximately 2 days, where it will still be at the B stage to complete the final pour, which will take it up to its full 50mm depth. Oi! Okay, here we are. We're 2 days in to the resin port and things are going all right. Where I'm at now, 2 jobs I want to do. There are, where the big cracks are down the middle, the resin's obviously settled in there, so there's a couple of mil along the top, so it's still at the B stage. Still get your fingernail to make an indentation into it, so I'm going to top that up. I'm out of Glasscast 50 now, but I've got Glasscast 10, so that'll do that fine. Mix that up. Also at the back, now it's a bit difficult to explain this one, but there's kind of 3 grooves, natural grooves that come in, and one of them I'm going to top up to the top because that's going to form part of the table, but the other 2 I'm actually going to be cutting the resin away, or I'm going to kind of get the belt sander away, because the client wants it for leads to go down the back, so it's actually a natural feature I'm making use of. I should have thought of really trying to create a dam to stop resin going in that bit to save a little bit, but it is what it is now. I can't change it, so I'm going to leave. They're a little bit lower than the table light, but that's all right. I can leave them because they're going to be getting, as I say, sanded out. But the third one there, the big one, I'm going to fill that up. I might actually use a slightly different resin tint colour. I'm thinking rose gold actually would look nice in that. And I've kind of plugged it with some decorator's caulk, and I gave that a very light sanding. It's still at the B stage, but a bit belt and braces to make sure it bonds correctly to it. So that's what I'm going to do now, and then basically I'm going to have to leave it for a week at least for it to fully cure. Conditions are really good in here. It doesn't get cool at night. You know, it's pretty consistent ambient temperature in here. So yeah, so that's the plan. I'm going to do that now, and then literally do other things for the next week. Got a lot of editing to do. Okay, let's crack on. Let's chit chat. Right folks, that's it for this one, and there's one more to come in this series. As you can see, I'm a little bit further down the line than this video you've just watched, and the final episode is going to be about cutting it to its bespoke dimensions and the rather long task of filling, sanding and polishing. So as ever everyone, take care, look after yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.